to celebrate St. James, past, present, future. This is one of the events called Comedy, Coffee, and Croissants, which we have been running for the past year and a half or two in the old Calderon Theater. So you must have gathered that by now, and we want to welcome you. If you look up, you can see that this is the original tin ceiling, which I can assure you was not painted mauve, gray, and seafoam in the early 1900s. But when my husband and I purchased the building in 1985, it was in terrible disrepair. It was rotting and it needed to be fixed. And our architect suggested that we remove it entirely. And we instead decided to have someone painstakingly restore it and paint it. So it is at the top of this building. The building was here in many forms since the early 1900s. We're not exactly sure when it was built. We're still in the process of trying to find that out. Right, fellas? Where are you? Yes, okay. We know that the building was a movie theater, a silent movie theater, because there was a wonderful elderly lady by the name of Mrs. Sturm in the town. She lived to 105, was it? Yes, she was up there. When I met her, when we first moved into the building, she told me that her niece, who was 10 years old, played the piano for the silent films here. So the original stage is downstairs. We've got furniture on it because downstairs, of course, is a furniture consignment store that Jack Ader, my partner, and I run together. But as we've been moving things along, more and more of this building has become Celebrate St. James territory. So if you look behind you, and when you can, you don't have to do that now, but if you will, you will see that there are beautiful photographs of 18 historic sites that are depicted in the calendar. The calendar was our first effort, which was produced by Jack Ader, photographed currently, and Brad Harris supplied the history and the old pictures of what it was then, Jack, what it did now. So if you have purchased a calendar, those are the few that are still remaining. And we asked for a donation if you'd like to give one, because we're going to be getting a new series with another calendar. And we're thinking of doing one about vaudeville and the movies in St. James. You know this was a hot town. You realize that. This was a hot town in the old town in the early 1900s. And we hope to be able to do that again, thanks to an amazing committee of wonderful, wonderful people and an amazing town supervisor and his team who, I must say, have helped make it all possible, because we are on the cusp of many wonderful things. And I just want to tell you briefly a little bit about some of them. And you can pick up some information, and then I want to introduce the supervisor. So we are going to, so you all know about the calendar now, because I've told you about it. And they are up front. And Ronnie and Joanne are here, and they're going to be helping us today. And you can see, if you can want to also purchase one of the DVDs of the show, they are available, as well as the playbill. The playbill was an interesting story, which I'll just take a minute to share with you. It looks like a normal playbill, but if you know that you've ever gone to a show in the theater on Broadway, there's lots and lots of advertisements, because that's how they support a playbill. There are no advertisements in this playbill, and that is because a very fine gentleman by the name of Gary Fitlin, who was the CEO of Gyrodyne, donated the funds to print this playbill. Wow. So we were able to write the story of our actors and actresses, some of whom are here today, and I'm going to ask them to stand up in a minute. And then we were able to give you, and this is some of the pictures of them, and you'll see them shortly. We were able to give you the real backstory. So thanks to Brad and Jack, who produced this. The story behind the story is here, and it's the history of the town. Anything that was mentioned in the movie is talked about in the playbill. So this is really a wonderful little keepsake that I hope you will enjoy and be proud of, because this is our town, our community. we may not have lived back then, which we tried to restore in our old theater. And I want, Frank, can you just stand up for a minute? I want you to meet a new friend of mine. This gentleman's work bowled me over. Now, I know Pat Clark, who's visiting in Florida with her children because she's got 2 weddings this year, and this was the shower of the daughter-in-law, so she had to go to Florida. She and I went to a place called the Suffolk County Historical Society in hopes of learning about grants. And we walked into a display that Frank and his brother, come stand up a minute, provided for them that was amazing. Every one of my team would have loved to be there. Every one of my performers would have loved to be there. And so would all of you, because it was the story of the silver screen on Long Island, starting in the early 1900s. It talked about the old theaters, and it showed memorabilia that these 2 gentlemen, who are brothers, have collected since they were young boys. And because I mentioned this to Victoria, who is the executive director of this museum, and we weren't allowed to go in and take pictures until she found out that I was her teacher at the design school some 20 years ago. Then we were able to go in and take the pictures, and then she did something else. She sent me this man. And a week ago, last Saturday, he walked in the front door of the consignment store. And 2 weeks later, this is what happened. So, and I'm going to ask the brothers to come back for another comedy, Coffee and Croissants gathering, so they can tell your story and show you some of the things they've collected. And the very last piece was a lovely present which came today, which is a photograph of Willie Collier Sr., who was our town vaudevillian, and Spencer Tracy. So look for it when you go into the museum.
Great job, Joe.
So, the next thing that's coming up will be Earth Day. A wonderful presentation by Arlene and her art team. Now, Christina's not here today, nor is Susan, but we have kind rocks that we're going to be doing with the kids. We have the puppets and ecology, which we're going to be doing with the kids. It's going to be a wonderful event. The next one after that is artwork. Arlene, come stand up for 1 second. This amazing lady has put together a fair, a presentation, a happening, I don't even know what to call it anymore.
A great event.
Thank you. Good words. How many artists do we already have?
I have 66 participants. Most are visual artists. We have sculptors, we have potters, we have jewelry designers. You'll want to come and look at the jewelry. And then we have performers. We'll have music, dancing. Please come.
It's going to be a wonderful event.
The only thing we have to pray for is no rain.
Well, we do have a rain
We
day.
have a rain
So
day.
this is May 5th, it's Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
So it's a Sunday, May 5th, and the street will be closed, and we will have this beautiful event. It's going to be really a lovely, lovely event. We're going to showcase the town, the artists that are local, and the people who are coming. You're just going to love it. And if it's raining, we will move to May 19th.
Right.
And thank you, God, it's not going to rain, all right? Good, okay.
Do you have flyers that we can?
Yes, they're all out here. My team is going to be able to provide you with all of this information. Then we have one interesting event on April 7th. To a friend of mine, I was very fortunate. I worked with her when I did some television and radio years back. And you might know who she is. Her name is Fran Capo. She's a stand-up comic, but she's a lot more than that. She holds the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's fastest talking woman. She's written 17 books called The Adrenaline Adventures. You really will be holding your bellies because you will not stop laughing from the time this woman starts. Even when she's not funny, she's funny. I don't know how, but she is. So she will be here on April 7th, right here in this room. She is really quite an amazing gal. So we've got artwork, and coming up this summer, we're going to be doing another music festival at the gazebo. We're going to be doing, John is the gentleman passing out papers. He's our bad boy,
Gonna be singing.
who turns up at will, leaves when he wants,
No.
plays John Barrymore, sings with the dedications, and now he has to start practicing because this old lady wrote a little thingy for Gilbert and Sullivan, which got all of my singers involved. So we're going to do a whole thing about Gilbert and Sullivan, Have you started to learn your music yet? Yeah.
Yes, Natalie.
All right, that's very good. So we have Gilbert and Sullivan. We have a celebration of Woodstock. We have the dedications featuring John and his band. We have an open mic night, and we have a country western night. Did I forget somebody? No. All this summer, we're going to be having music at the gazebo. You bring your chair, bring a friend. It's all free. It's all fun. This is what we do because we want you to be proud of your town and to help us revitalize it. I want to just thank you very much for coming. I want to introduce my business partner, Jack Ader, to you. I want to just tell you that Ronnie and I and Joanne could never have put that theater together without him and all the things that he does. He is the man who creates, this, that, the calendar, all of this, every flyer you see. We're so lucky that he is willing to help, and oftentimes he is seriously outnumbered by a lot of very determined and impatient women. So, okay. Well, who from my cast is here? Stand up, please. Okay. I want you to say hello to Mae West and John Barrymore. When you see Mae West here, she will be, yes. But so modest and certainly not a ham.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. So after the movie is over, we certainly will allow you to have them sign autographs on the back of your playbill. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Supervisor Wareheim. Please come up here. I want to really personally thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
For all of the things you have done, not only for the community of St. James, but for all of Smithtown. Since you have come, the place is alive. And even though I know you've had years and years and years of experience in local government in Smithtown, nothing has driven us more than the fact that you are all behind us, and we can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Natalie. I want to thank Natalie and her staff for inviting us here this morning. And I also want to thank all you folks for coming. I know it's a nasty day, but it's a great day to have an event like this inside. It gives us something to do. As you know, our administration started in January of 2018. We had a very aggressive agenda put together. I will tell you that it's working along very well with a lot of hard work from a lot of people. I don't do it alone. I have some of my government colleagues here today, but it's really, there's 8 elected officials in Smithtown. We are all working as a team to make sure that we make Smithtown and St. James and all the hamlets what they really should be. One thing I learned today already, before we started, I thought Natalie was the fastest talking woman. Because her and Arlene have ascended on town hall, and even if I might not have wanted to go as quickly as I'm going, that wasn't an option after I met with Arlene and Natalie. So we really are looking, we are on the way for the revitalization of St. James. There have been, I wouldn't call them setbacks. Some of what we're doing, we have to deal with other levels of government, and that can become cumbersome and difficult. But I assure you, we are making our way through. We are at a point in St. James where we have just 2 weeks ago at a board meeting, we awarded the engineering contract to oversee the entire revitalization project to H2M. That was good because the number of H2M principals live right here in St. James, so they know the area well. So we were very pleased that we were able to have them come on board. So that's ongoing. They will be preparing specifications to go out to bid for contractors for the revitalization. And we're actually working on something for this year where we may possibly begin the south side of Lake Avenue. We're looking to move some funds around and do an overlay of Lake Avenue, some new water mains going south, and sidewalks all the way to Jericho Turnpike. I think we'll be able to accomplish that because it's going to be the entrance into the downtown business district when we're complete. And it looks at this point, and hopefully that will come true, that we'll be beginning the revitalization project here in early spring of 2020. So everything is going according to plan. It is going well. Funding is in place. So we're very, very excited. And working with Arlene and Natalie, we in town government believe that we'd love to make St. James an arts, cultural type business district. I think that's what really we need. You heard about transit-oriented development and things like that. We have Smithtown and Kings Park actually slated for that type of development. But we think St. James could be a real beautiful model for the country when we're finished with it. And that's our goal. So we'll be working towards that goal as we go along. I want to thank Nicole as well. Nicole Gargiulo keeps us running steady. Couldn't do it without her.
She's so wonderful.
And I guess one other thing I heard today about a fast-talking lady also is we should all be comfortable that when we're finished with St. James in 2020, it won't be the hottest town it was back then, but it'll be okay. Just want to be cautious, you know what I mean? So what I'd like to do before we view the film, Natalie, could you and Jack and Arlene come up, please?
Can you find the phone? Okay. Just
We again are excited and honored to be working with Arlene and Natalie and Jack. They do just an outstanding, wonderful job for the community. So on behalf of Deanna and Vinny are here. Vinny's our clerk and Deanna's our tax receiver. As I said, there are 8 elected officials. So on behalf of the town board, and this proclamation is not too long, so I really do want to read it because I think it's important. Whereas today, March 10th, 2019, we join in celebration to celebrate St. James, past, present, future. Whereas Celebrate St. James was formed by Natalie Weinstein, Arlene Goldstein, and Jack Adler, and founded in 2017 as an offshoot from the St. James Civic Association as a not-for-profit 501c3 entity. Whereas Celebrate St. James' mission is to preserve and celebrate St. James' rich history and inspire appreciation and knowledge of the arts in our community. And whereas in 2017, the hamlet became energized, planning events and activities showing its spirit, pride, and support. Therefore, I, Edward R. Wareheim, Supervisor of Town of Smithtown, together with the town board and our elected officials, do hereby extend our congratulations and best wishes to Celebrate St. James, and we look forward to new beginnings and exciting adventures. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
so lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, I'd also like to thank all of the actors in the cast that were in the play. You may not have heard, I was slated to be in the play,
So were you.
and I was beat up pretty badly by Natalie, but it's okay. But I was in my office planning the revitalization of St. James, so she let me off the
You're
hook.
forgiven.
So, thank you very much. So, but one of our councilmen, Tom Lohman, was in the play, and I want to, and John Zola was in the play, dear friend of mine. So I want to just send my appreciation out to the cast. I think when we're all done, St. James is going to be one of the best places to live and work in the country. So thank you very much.
All right, and so on with the show. Come on in, guys. We have seats. Hi, Chris.